So when I have about 2 or 3 fingers left to finish sewing my stuffed toy, that's where I want to stop sewing so that I can stuff my stuffed toy. I'm not going to cut my thread and take my needle off or tie a knot or anything at this point. I'm going to do that when I'm done. So I'm going to go ahead and stop right here so I can begin to stuff. I'm going to start first with small pieces of stuffing. So I'm going to go ahead and tear off small pieces because I want to start by stuffing arms and legs and ears or anything that's thin. So I'm going to go ahead and put this small piece. I'm going to work it through. I'm going to work it into my stuffy using a pencil and guide it towards the first leg. So you can see the stuffing is going in, and there we go. There is my first leg stuffed, and I'm going to do the same thing again for the second leg, where I take a small piece of stuffing and I'm going to push it down into my stuffy with a pencil and into the leg. And I'm going to go ahead and repeat this process with the arms and the ears. Now it's time to stuff the body, so I'm going to get some bigger pieces of stuffing and I'm going to push those into my creature, first with my hands, and then again I'm going to use the back of my pencil to shove the stuffing down into the torso of my cat. And once that part is filled up good, I'm going to go ahead and grab some more stuffing and stuff the head. Because the stuffing tends to settle, it's better to put a little bit more stuffing than less stuffing because then your stuffed toy will kind of go flat. So I'm going to add some more stuffing to this head. Since I left the thread and needle on, I'm going to just go ahead and start sewing until I reach the beginning of my sewing. So I'm just sewing across now that my stuffing is in. And then when I get to where I started, I'm just going to tie those 2 pieces of threads together. Remember I said each section of thread needs to have a knot at each end so it doesn't untie. And right here, I'm just going to secure these 2 pieces by tying a regular knot like I would if I was tying my shoes. And now I can go ahead and cut that piece of thread off and all the extra long pieces of thread. Right now I'd like to sew on some buttons for eyes, so I have my 2 buttons ready and I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to do it like about 1 arm length long. We don't need this thread to be as long as the other thread was for sewing the whole body. And so again, I'm going to go ahead and thread my needle using a small strip of paper that's going to wrap around the needle, and then I'm going to send that strip of paper through the eye of the needle. And my needle has been threaded, and then again I'm going to go and tie a knot at the end. So I make a loop and then I send my little tail that's left over through the back and inside the loop and pull until I have a double knot. So I want my eyes to be right here on my stuffed toy. So I'm going to kind of just remember where that eye is. So wherever I want the eye, I'm going to go into my stuffed toy and out of my stuffed toy with my needle. And I want to make sure that it's not long like this. So I don't want to do that. I want to go into the creature where I want my eye and come right out. And then I'm going to pull through all the way until I get to this double knot. Now I'm going to take my button and I'm going to go into the back of my button, one of the holes. Then I'm going to go back into the front of the button into the next hole, with my needle. And I'm going to pull my needle through all the way until it is kind of flush with the felt. And then here, I'm going to hold it down. And then behind the button, I'm going to go into the front of my creature, come right back out like this. So I'm going to go into my creature, out of my creature, and I'm going to pull, and that's going to secure my button down. And now I'm going to go into the back of my button again. So one of the buttonholes, I'm going to go back into it through the back of my button, and then I'm going to go into the front of the other hole in my button. Out through the back of the button. Now I'm going to go into the creature. And out of my creature. And I'm going to pull. So I went in a couple of times, so that's good. So I'm going to tie both tail ends of my thread, the back end after the double knot and the front end where the thread is on the needle. And I'm going to go ahead and just tie these two together like this. That should secure it. And then I'm going to go ahead and clip off the extra thread. I'm going to repeat the same process for the other eye. So now my stuffy has two eyes. So I want to sew a heart onto my stuffy, so I'm going to take a piece of scrap felt and I'm going to cut a heart from my scrap felt so that I can sew it onto my stuffy. So first I'm going to place it onto my stuffy where I think I want it to be, and then again I've threaded my needle and I'm going to tie a knot at the end, so I'm making that loop. I'm sending the tail through the loop and pulling, and I'm going to make another double knot so that my thread can stay on my creature. And sometimes it happens that I don't catch the knot where I want it to, so there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and underneath where I want to sew the heart, I'm going to go into the creature and come right out of the creature, just like I did when I was sewing the buttons on for the eyes. But this time, after I come out of the creature, I'm going to go into the back of the felt. So I'm going to pull my needle through the felt, and then I'm going to create a running stitch to sew this heart onto my creature. So I came out of the top of the felt. Now I'm going to go back into the front of the heart felt, and then I'm going to go through that, and I'm going to go into the creature, and then I'm going to come out of the creature, making sure that my needle goes through the creature and then through the back of the heart and into the front. And I'm going to just go ahead and repeat this where I go into the front of the heart. I make sure my needle goes through and goes into the creature and comes out of the creature at the same time that it comes out of the felt that is the heart. Okay, so now I'm just about done. So I'm going to go ahead and put the needle through one last time through the front of my heart, but this time I'm not going to go into the creature. I'm just going to go through the heart and come out through the back like this. And then underneath my heart, so let me move this thread from around the leg. So underneath the heart, I'm going to go ahead and tie these two tail ends together. The tail that was after the knot and the tail that comes after my needle. So I'm just going to go ahead and tie them together like I would when I tie my shoestrings. And let's go ahead and double knot that and clip the ends of the thread. So I'm done for now, but I can definitely add more to my stuffed toy. Here's just a couple of examples of what students have done in the past. So what will your stuffed toy look like?